Cool, just pulled into Temple, Texas. I'm going to interview CJ Grisham about his police encounter, and it looks like I may have my own. But anyway, hopefully they don't mess with me. They just pulled behind me and ran my tags and then stopped over there, so no telling what's going to happen next. But hopefully I'm not doing anything wrong, so I won't get messed with, but you know how that goes. Well, they've taken their attention off of me, and now it appears that they're going to mess with this man over here that was walking in the park and drinking something. Don't know what it was, but it looks like there's another cop that pulled up over there, so they're gonna mess with this guy here in the park. And we'll see what happens here. Looks like it's going pretty peaceful. I didn't see that he was doing anything wrong, but somebody probably called on him. Because I noticed the police always respond to people's calls about legal activity. But he is kind of wobbling around like he's about to get, well, in my experience, when they start standing like that, they're prepared to get physical here in a minute. And I know that there is another policeman back up right over there. I don't know if you can see it behind the blue thing. He just pulled up over there. So we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, now they took the guy over to, I'm guessing, his car over there, and they're now searching it. After talking with him, looks like they were being pretty polite with him. He walked over there voluntarily with them, but it appears to be that now they're going to go through his stuff over there. And I guess if it gets exciting, I'll try to stop shaking the camera and film it. I'm here with CJ Grisham in Temple, Texas, and I thought I'd stop here and let him tell us again the stuff that he went through recently in was it Almost Park? Almost Park, and then if you guys remember back in the day when they got stopped here in Temple with the sun, I guess you guys were doing like a nature walk or something and got stopped?
Just doing a hike. Just doing a hike for his hiking merit badge so that he could get his Eagle Scout rank. And yeah, I got stopped about halfway through that hike. It was a 10-mile hike, and we got stopped at about the 5-mile mark. And that's kind of what kicked off the whole open carry movement here in Texas.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm. Beats all you never saw, been in trouble with the law since the day they was born.
We're hiking. Yep.
Only America's largest gives you the reliability of
Some reason why you have this?
It's what
Because I can. Okay. So wait, no, don't disturb me, man. Hey, all right. Put your hand up. Why are you taking my fucking stick, man? I'm not touching the gun. All right, I'm putting this on tape. I'm being recorded too. Good. I have it. You're trying to disarm me illegally. I am going to disarm you. Illegally. No, sir. Am I threatening you? Once I find out there's no issue, then we're am I doing something against the law? Be on your way. Am I doing something against the law? Keep your hands away from the gun. I don't have my hand near the gun. Put your other hand away from the gun. I'm holding my camera. Get it away from the gun. It's away from the gun. Okay? Now, you gonna let me go? No, I'm not gonna let you go. You have to get yourself a civil lawsuit. You can get yourself a lawsuit or whatever we need to do right now until I find out you can legally have the gun and you can be out of here. Oh, do I need a license to hold this gun? Yeah, dude, I'm telling you right now, we're having this. Put your hand behind your back. I'll tell you what, let me give my camera to my son, and I will do everything you ask. Put your hand behind your back. Chris, come here and get my camera. Chris, come here and get my camera. I'm taking my camera off. I'm not touching my gun. Okay, let go of the camera for a second. We're going to untie it. There you go. Now I want you to record this. Is it recording? Let me see what that says. Put your hand behind your back. Okay, now I'm going to do everything you said. Hey, dude! There, put your hand behind my back. No, Chris, keep the camera on me. Can I ask you what I was doing wrong? I can find out if you can legally have the gun. So you can just stop anybody in the world for legally displaying, yeah. Oh, how am I legally displaying a gun? I'm watching. Just unhook it right there. Keep the camera on me. Can you guys get a supervisor out here? He is the sergeant. Good. Let's work on me and this officer. He's completely out of control. So we're going to get the law to carry an open firearm like that? Well, let me answer your question. No, it's not. I've done nothing illegal. And yet this guy decides he wants to throw me against the car and I've done nothing. No, he has no right to disarm me if I'm not breaking the law. No, he does not. No, he doesn't. If he feels threatened, he may disarm me. But I have done nothing. Where's your identification? Get up, I'm talking to your freaking sergeant right now. It's in my pocket. Which pocket? This one right here. No. Hey, am I accused of crime? I'm going to let... I do not consent to you going through my wallet. I do not consent to you going through my wallet. Do you have any more guns over here? Yes, I do. I have a 45 on my side. On my left side. Do you have a yes, I have a concealed carry permit. Sir, you have no right to go through there. I'm telling you right now. Yeah, he didn't ask me for it, did he? He could have asked me for my concealed carry permit. But even if I did not have a concealed carry permit, I can walk around with a rifle. You alarm people and they call it. Okay, and did you explain to them what the law is, sir? But do you care what the law is? Do you have any more weapons on you? Okay, you know what that law says? That law says if you feel threatened, you know I feel threatened. Well, if you feel threatened, you're a sorry excuse for a police officer. Me and my son loaded rifle. It's loaded, but it's not changing. Okay, I don't know that. Hey, I feel threatened because you're carrying a loaded firearm. You ain't exempt from the law. Well, you guys think you are the law or something? You're at the tolerable. Are you taking my firearm? Okay, now, can we figure out what I did against the law? Why did you stop me? You got a call. Okay, and you came out, and was I doing anything threatening, officer? I asked you to stop. You continued to walk, and you did stop, and you turned around. I told you I was going to take the gun and quit. Whoa, no. And you started resisting back. Oh, bullshit. Hey, when you told me to stop, I stopped. You said, come here, and I stopped. You didn't say it on your loudspeaker. If you said it, I didn't hear you. I turned around and I stopped. Well, no, you didn't turn around. Exactly. So when I heard you say stop, I stopped, didn't I? Didn't I? Hey, dude, I got a fucking bad back for my rack. Will you let me stand up straight? Thank you. I'm trying to get my back straight because you're killing me.
And I've since made like little memes. Even though I can't carry a firearm, I got Open Carry America. I kind of took your guys' colors and ran with it and posted that all over the internet. So a big question I got for you is, like, when you were in the military, did you really think that you would have to or need to be a patriot to fight for just regular rights when you got back?
You know, I never realized that I was going to have to not only fight for our liberty and freedom abroad, but also have to come home. I mean, I went overseas and fought for my country, only to have to come home and fight against my country.
Yeah.
Just for the same rights that I took an oath to defend. And I find it's extremely disappointing, it's extremely infuriating that we have soldiers who are dying. Yeah, we have soldiers who have been killed ostensibly for these liberties, because that's what we took an oath to do.
Yeah.
And yet we come here and we're treated like dirt, and American citizens are treated like dirt. I don't want special treatment because I was a veteran.
Yeah.
I didn't serve for my rights. I served for everyone else's rights. And so when anybody's rights are violated, I take that personal, because that's not what I fought for.
Well, it seems like even with the regular public, whenever you hear that somebody that's done service is getting messed with for everyday, supposedly guaranteed unalienable rights,
right,
that there's really something seriously wrong with our country.
Well, and a lot of this comes from the left and from this anti-gun movement to try and ostracize and stigmatize gun owners and guns themselves.
Yeah.
We have made the term gun something that we kind of have to say under our breath, or firearms, something that we're supposed to be ashamed of. Us gun owners we're supposed to hide the fact that we're gun owners. We're not supposed to be proud of the fact that we're gun owners. And that's the problem, is that this is why open carry is so important, and why I don't understand why gun owners don't support this more broadly, because the left has made firearms so ostracized that we feel like we have to hide them. Well, let's come out of the closet.
Yeah.
If it's okay to be gay, it's okay to be a gun owner.
Yeah.
And we need to just stop hiding, because if we don't embrace open carry, we don't expose people to firearms that we're trying to stigmatize and that the media is trying to turn into something that everybody's afraid of, then we're never going to overcome this, and it's just going to get worse.
Well, here's a logic question for you. When you were overseas, I don't know what combat you saw, or, I mean, I don't know exactly, but I'm sure you've seen something. How would you defend yourself if someone from that country was coming up with guns to shoot at you? How do you defend yourself? Do you tell them that you know, this is a gun-free zone and you're not allowed to do that, or?
Right. Exactly. Let's just turn the tables, and let's not argue whether or not Iraq was a good thing or a bad thing. But I was in Iraq. Okay. So let's turn the tables and pretend that Iraq had invaded our country, but we had created a society where we can't have AR-15s and we can't have all other modern sporting rifles and things like that, right?
Yeah.
How are the people supposed to defend themselves against such odds? Now, obviously, we're in America. No one's going to, at least not anytime soon, no one's going to be invading our country, mostly because we are armed. But I look over there and I see how the Iraqi people were largely disarmed, and how Saddam was able to basically do whatever he wanted over there before we got there, because they were disarmed. And the Fedayeen did whatever they want. And the military was able to force people at gunpoint to carry a gun and fight against the American soldiers and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's very important that we're armed as a people.
You know, I was thinking about putting together like a little skit, basically, where I got a couple of airsoft rifles, and there's some people in an office, and then you give one person randomly an airsoft pistol in there, and then have someone come in, and then everybody else has a phone. So you can go in there one time where no one has it, and see how many people you could tag with the little pellets before the average time of the police show up, or how long it would last if somebody randomly had, you know, another pellet gun. Would they shoot them back right away, or, you know?
Yeah.
And it seems stupid to me that these arguments that they come up with, that saying that, you know, we need more laws, because I know for a fact when I was a youth, I didn't care about laws when I did things. I mean, I got in trouble for stealing some stuff when I was younger.
I never cared. So I know that criminals don't care. I mean, they're criminals, so why would they care what law is passed? All it does is stop anybody else from defending themselves.
Yeah, and this is another part of the problem, is that when we have one of these emotional events like a school shooting, people automatically say that we don't have enough laws, and what they refuse to look at is the fact that laws failed and government failed. Every time we have a school shooting, that is not a failure of lack of legislation. It's a failure of government.
Yeah.
It's a failure of government to allow people to defend themselves, and it's a failure of people to defend themselves.
Well, I homeschool now. And,
Good.
And one of the reasons was the propaganda they were given, but another reason is I know that my kid's totally unsafe there.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if anything, I kept watching these things happen since he's been growing up, and I just think I can't let my kid be at a place where I can't protect him, and he can't protect himself, and nobody else is going to.
Yep.
So he's just a sitting duck there.
The people that write the laws are protected by cops.
Yeah.
And so if a shooter tries to get into one of them, they're protected. But the kids aren't.
Yeah.
So you send your kids to school, they become the responsibility of government.
Yeah.
And government's not protecting them.
Yeah.
And so their response to that is, oh, well, that's because we didn't have enough laws.
Yeah, I still like I said, as a felon myself, I knew there was probably laws, but I didn't care as a juvenile. You know, I just was trying to have a good time.
Yeah.
And so I know that, I mean, I got over that as I got a little older. You know, that was retarded of me to be like that. But I was a kid, and I got punished for it. But then when I got out, I realized, you know, that they would never take my right of speech away as a felon because it's supposedly guaranteed under the Constitution. I don't understand why the same logic doesn't apply for non-violent people. Like, I do get if somebody, you know, they rob a store with a gun or a rape or they've murdered someone, that you could argue that they don't have the right to hold a gun anymore. But for everybody else, how are they supposed to defend themselves? Because basically that's what they took away from me, is my right to protect my family and myself.
And if you break that down further, there are two fallacies to this whole argument about preventing felons from having a firearm. The first one is Martha Stewart is a felon.
Yeah.
She never hurt anybody. She's never a threat to anybody. Now, she's probably anti-gun, but that's not the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
The point is, the government has made, and this is the second point, is if we think we're okay and we allow government to say, okay, if you're a felon, you don't get the right to keep and bear arms, then what's to stop the government from making everything a felony?
Exactly, which seems like they're trying to do.
Well, I mean, that's the problem. And when everything is a felony, I mean, look, we just passed a law last year that if you assault somebody right now, it's a misdemeanor, right? But if that somebody that you assault happens to be a police officer or it happens to be a public servant, automatically it's a felony. But there's no difference between the two types of assault. It's just that one chose to wear a badge and one doesn't. And so we're treating, but we've got, if you write a hot check, in some states that's a felony. There are so many different types of absurd felonies. New York has 6 categories of felonies.
Wow.
And so what's to stop them from saying, okay, if you drive without a driver's license now, it's a felony. Or if you jaywalk, it's a felony. And now you lose your rights.
Yeah, and what's crazy is the crime I committed, I took $10 worth of quarters out of a car. So I got charged with auto burglary because I wanted to go buy some beer on my 18th birthday. And then I realized that that's a misdemeanor.
So this was when you were 18?
Yeah, it was on my birthday.
Yeah.
So they made sure to press the felony charges. And then I come to find out any other place in the United States would have been a misdemeanor and I would still have my rights.
And you're how old now?
I'm 40 now.
So here you are over 22 years later, and you're still you haven't committed any other crimes, but because you were a stupid teenager, and there's a lot of stupid teenagers out there, you lose your rights for a lifetime. And I know there are a couple cases right now going to the Supreme Court to challenge this, and I hope it's successful because it should be.
Try to get the win.
A lot of people make mistakes when they're kids, and they shouldn't have to pay for it for the rest of their lives. There should be a statute of limitations.
Well, that brings up another question. You know how they got all these gun advocate or anti-gun kids now that they're pushing on the mainstream media, and they're pushing for the idea that they could vote earlier, and that you need to push the age of the guns up to 21, which makes me think, if you're not mature enough to own or handle a gun, why would I trust you with the vote to change the laws?
Yeah.
I feel like that if you're not even old enough to vote, you shouldn't really have much to say about it.
If you're not old enough to handle or buy a firearm, you shouldn't be old enough to vote about whether or not I can have one.
Yeah, and that's right. And then the other thing is you know that you can go to the military when you're 18 years old,
yeah.
and they don't care that you go and shoot and kill people in our nation's name for whatever reason, good or bad. Those 18-year-olds are given, you know, respect that they have the maturity to handle weapons. So I don't understand why the average American citizen would be any different, especially when those are the people that do go join the military.
Well, the argument is, and of course I don't buy it, but the argument is that the military trains these 18-year-old kids to shoot. Well,
yeah.
We don't need the military to train 18-year-old kids to shoot. The military didn't train me at 18 how to shoot.
Yeah.
I learned how to shoot at 12 years old, how to shoot these kinds of firearms.
Yeah, I was well familiar with all that when I was young too.
I mean, it doesn't require we don't need the government to teach us how to use a firearm. So that's their argument. Their argument is, well, those 18-year-olds are trained by the military. Okay, well, those 18-year-olds can also be trained otherwise.
Yeah, they could go to whatever local classes they have and I know in our state they make people take a class before they can get any kind of license to carry a handgun or,
right.
or concealed. Yeah, so I was going to ask you too, well, you already kind of answered it because you said you don't want, you know, people to look at you different because you're a veteran. So you're pretty much out on the street just representing an average citizen and their rights.
I am fighting for everybody. I don't care who you are, what your political persuasion. These rights belong to everyone,
yeah,
equally. My status as a veteran is just that's just the profession I chose, and I chose it for good reasons. I thought and I wanted to fight to defend our Constitution.
Yeah.
I did it for very altruistic reasons, and so I expect that sacrifice and that service, not just of me, but of millions of Americans, those that died at Valley Forge, those that died during the Civil War, those that died for the rights that we have today, are represented and recognized and respected. And that's important to me. It's not about me. It's about everyone else. And granted, I'm the face of this, but really, I wish I did this for me, but I don't care about my rights. I've got my rights, and I'll fight for my rights. But there are some people who either can't or won't stand up for themselves, and I want to make sure that those people are taken care of and fought for.
Well, that, and most people don't know their rights.
Yeah, so if you just look for CJ Grisham, that's my YouTube channel, and then Open Carry Texas is our Open Carry Texas channel. But you know, I don't want to talk about specifics because it is a case right now, but
gotcha.
Our whole purpose of going down there was because we had heard as an organization that Olmos Police Department was not respecting the rights of citizens.
Yeah.
Olmos Police Department was being violently aggressive against the citizens that were openly carrying or even filming. I mean, some of these guys just had cameras. They didn't have guns.
Yeah.
And
they don't like that either.
They don't like being filmed either. So our purpose in going down there was, after the phone call that I had with the chief, I didn't feel comfortable that anybody that open carried in Olmos Park was going to be safe.
Olmos Park Police Department, this is Renee. May I help you?
Hi, is this Chief?
It is.
Hey, Chief, how you doing? It's DJ Grisham. I'm with Open Carry Texas.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I've been trying to get a hold of you guys. I sent an open records request, and I haven't heard from anybody.
Okay.
Did you get that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I mean, is there because we're almost up on the 10 days.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I mean, are y'all looking into that, or what's going on with that?
Absolutely, sir. We are looking into it, sir.
Okay. So with that said as well, I'm trying to find out also what were the issues with this open carry stuff and why we've got members that are being drawn down on. Is that policy?
Well, let me see how I can answer that to you. That's going to satisfy your answer. So I can't get into the specifics with regards to certain individuals that we have criminal cases pending or we have offenses that are pending. I'm well aware that Texas is an open carry state. I'm well aware of that. So
okay.
Outside of that parameters, was there another question that you needed answered?
Well, yeah. I don't need specific I'm not asking for specific cases. My main question is if a person is open carrying, is it policy to pull out a firearm? Is it policy for your officers to threaten individuals with their firearms? I guess is my question. Is that the policy, or how do you guys deal with open carriers? What's the policy?
Well, again, Texas is an open carry state, so we're well aware of the fact that it's legally, it is legal for a person to carry a handgun on their person, provided that they have a license and they're not committing any criminal activity. We are aware that is legal.
That's Chief. That's not my question.
Okay.
You're skirting my question. Is it policy?
I'm not skirting your question. I'm answering your question.
No, you didn't answer it at all. I specifically asked, is it your policy to respond to open carry by your officers pulling their handguns and threatening a citizen? That's my
no.
That's
obviously, yeah. Obviously, that's not anyone's policy to do that, including ours.
So then, as the chief, are you addressing the fact that some of your officers did that?
Well, I address issues that need to be addressed. If there's not an issue that needs to be addressed, then obviously I'm not going to address that issue.
Do you consider that to be an issue that you need to address?
I don't think it's an issue that I need to address. Again, you get one side. You get one side of the story. You don't know the whole side of the story.
I know the whole side of the story. I've seen unedited video. I've seen the entire thing.
That's your prerogative, and that's your opinion. And
so you don't. Just to clarify, you don't think there's an issue with your officers unholstering their handguns and threatening a citizen who is doing nothing but having a holstered handgun, and that's it? Once again, I'll say it again. I am not talking about a specific incident with regard. I'm not either. I'm talking about general policy. I'm telling you, general policy. Texas is an open carry state. Provided that you have a license to carry a handgun and you're not committing any criminal activity, you don't have anything to worry about. Well, apparently we do. That's my concern. That's why we're getting involved. Because that's your opinion, and you're entitled to your opinion, sir. Well, I find it very disconcerting that the chief doesn't care that his officers are literally unholstering their handguns without a perceived threat. I mean, that boggles my mind that you don't think that's a problem. Okay, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, and again, you're entitled to your opinion. I respect your opinion. Everybody has an opinion. Okay, so if I come to Olmos Park and I'm open carrying a handgun or a rifle, am I going to be shot dead? I'm not even going to entertain that question, sir. That's not even a reasonable question. It is a reasonable question. If your officers are pulling guns on people who are open carrying, that's a very reasonable question. Am I going to be forced on my face if I open carry there at gunpoint? I'm not even going to respond to that question, sir. That's a very unreasonable question to ask. Well, in light of what's actually happening, Chief, it's not unreasonable at all. I mean, I do plan to come there, and I'm afraid that you guys are going to threaten me and put me on my face at gunpoint for doing nothing more than exercising my rights. And you just said it's lawful in Texas. So why are officers unholstering guns when people do it? Do you unholster guns when people eat an ice cream cone? That's legal. Well, let me give you an example, if you permit me here, unrelated to a handgun. Sure. Drinking alcohol in Texas is legal, would you say, provided that you meet the age requirement? That's correct. Right? That's correct. We're in agreement there. Absolutely. And we're in agreement that if you reach a certain level of intoxication and you're driving a motor vehicle in Texas, that would be illegal, correct? That's illegal. Okay. Same principle here. Again, that's why I told you. We're aware of the open carry in Texas, and we're aware that it's legal, provided that you have a license to carry a handgun and you're not committing any other criminal activity. You don't have a problem. We have San Antonio is a population of over 1 million point something people in San Antonio, and we don't have a problem with the majority of the people that come through with an open carry or concealed carry with a rifle or a shotgun. We just don't have that problem. Well, I guess I disagree because I wouldn't be calling you if there wasn't one. But let me go back to your drinking analogy. If someone is sitting at the Olive Garden just drinking a beer and no signs of intoxication, are you going to arrest them?
Well, obviously, I mean, if there's nothing going on there for us to address, then no. Well, why on earth would we do that? I mean, there's many places here and
but it's legal, right?
In almost parks. It's legal to consume alcohol. Yes.
Okay.
That's why I came out and I said it first.
And it's legal to open carry as well, but yet for open carry, you guys are showing up in force, and for drinking, you're not. So I'm trying to figure out why one legal activity is kind of
never said that we're not showing up for the people. I'll give you an example. Provided, I mean, we know that it's legal, but there's always restrictions and parameters on anything. Would you agree?
Well, yeah. So what are the parameters that were violated? I get what parameters would I have to violate in order to have police pull up on me with their guns unholstered?
No, that's not nothing to do with that. I'm simply saying you're talking about open carry in Texas. There's certain places that you cannot open carry. Would you agree with that?
Okay, I'm
certain places that you can go to with open carry.
Okay,
Texas,
I'm talking about lawful. I'm not talking about going into school zones I'm talking about me just walking down the road, minding my own business, not going through school zones, not in a bar, not where I'm not allowed to be. I'm talking about just plain old exercising my rights peacefully, smiling, waving at people, holding a sign maybe.
I've already answered that question. Texas is an open carry state. You can legally carry a handgun in Texas, provided you have a handgun license to do so, and you're not committing any criminal activity.
Okay. So is it your policy to stop people to check their licenses?
That just depends on the circumstances that surround that. It's hard for me to tell you in a hypothetical situation.
No, it's not a hypothetical.
General, does this happen? Yes, it is a hypothetical.
No.
There's plenty of variables in between there that you may be unaware of.
Okay. I can't believe I have to dumb this down this way. I'm talking generally nothing else. There's no other variables but a person open carrying. Is it your policy to stop and identify that person and check their license? There doesn't have to be
You're asking me a hypothetical situation.
Oh my gosh, Chief, come on, don't play the politics game.
I'm not playing the politics game. You asked me a question. I've addressed your issue.
It's not a hypothetical. It's not a hypothetical at all. People open carry every day. When people are open carrying, absent any other articulable suspicion, probable cause, just open carrying. This isn't a hypothetical. I'm not saying, okay, a person's open carrying and he happens to have the gun in his hand. No. He's got a holstered handgun in accordance with state law in a belt or shoulder holster, absent anything else. Is it your policy to stop and identify those individuals?
No. Obviously, no. We have encountered many people with open carry.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. Well, I'm still a little flabbergasted that you don't think it's necessary to investigate pulling guns on people for open carrying.
Because you think this is a big old joke or what?
It's not a joke. Okay. The man is in handcuffs.
I asked you, but
it's not a joke.
My focus is on you right now, not on him.
It's not a joke, sir. I want to make that clear.
Again, let's talk about let's have a conversation amongst each other.
Let's have a conversation.
Not about him.
When you have the handcuffs off, we'll have a polite conversation.
I may not
want to talk
to you at that point.
Then you don't have to.
Okay, then we're done.
What you have to do is take the handcuffs off the man.
Good. How are y'all? I'm Corporal Fleming with Almost Park Police Department.
Oh, haven't met you.
No, I'm kind of new. I've been here about 3 years.
I'm Jack.
Jack? Nice to meet you. Are you familiar? I know you're familiar with your right to carry the weapon with our city ordinance.
How do you know that?
How do I know that?
I'm familiar with my rights. You heard grapevine?
I'm assuming that you're going to know your rights by carrying the rifle or shotgun. The city ordinance includes a loaded weapon, as in shell or shells in your magazine.
Interesting.
If you have any shells or shells in your magazine, no issues with that.
Now you've heard the phrase, This rifle without a shell in it would be nothing but a baseball bat, right?
Correct.
That's why. Do you have a round in the chamber of your gun? Okay.
But our city ordinance is worded only a newly sworn peace officer openly carry a rifle or a shotgun. And I would say a reasonable person would assume that you're not going to carry an empty weapon, like you said, because it's as useless as a baseball bat.
I think it would be highly advisable if you're going to carry a weapon, a handgun, a rifle, a shotgun, a bow and arrow, that you not carry it unloaded. I think that would be probably the best advice I would give to somebody. Let's say if they were to watch your body cam footage in the future, I don't want them to ever walk away thinking it would be best to carry an unloaded gun.
I would agree with you, but I don't make our city ordinance.
We're talking about loading guns and unloading guns. I don't break laws. I don't have a criminal background. I don't have a conviction. Although you've watched my YouTube, I've been arrested a bunch of times. No current pending cases, all dismissed with a few settlements. So I would suggest that unless you guys want to have a consensual civil conversation about the weather or about my gun or whatever, you probably need to mosey on down the road, or you can hang out and watch me. But this angle you're coming with about the city ordinance, I know where you're trying to go. It's not going to work. That's about all I have to say about whether or not a weapon should or shouldn't be loaded or whatever.
If you're in violation of our city ordinance, then you would be committing a crime. Then lawfully detain you, check it. Like I said, you can go about it that way.
I'm being detained right now? Easy.
Careful, careful.
It's an easy answer. God, no,
careful, man.
So hard to answer that question.
You know what that requires, right? Reasonable, articulable suspicion.
Let him answer. Let him answer.
And I just said a reasonable person would think that you wouldn't be carrying a weapon without permission.
You know that ordinance is unlawful. It's unconstitutional against the Texas Constitution. You can't make an ordinance that overrides a state law. We're going to challenge you on it. You're not going to search them.
Well, I'm not going to challenge anybody. I'm not here to challenge anyone. I'm here to obey the law and make this little area a little safer for the time that I'm out here. You guys can't be sitting here all night guarding these stores and this place and getting robbed. If I see something, I'll call you guys.
Okay. But you don't wish to show me if you have your ammo in your magazine?
I appreciate your being cordial asking me that question, but I think you know the answer to it.
Okay.
Am I being detained?
Yes. Now you're being detained.
I'm being detained. For what?
To see if you're in violation of our city ordinance.
Well, I don't consent to a search.
Okay.
That's called prior restraint.
Hold on.
You know that, right?
Let me tell you. Do not touch me. That's an order. Don't touch me. You will not take my gun from me. You will not search my gun. You do not have consent. So, ball's in your court.
Okay. Can you take your hands out of your pocket?
Nope. Ow! Be nice. Be nice.
I'll leave this on me.
Open Carry Texas is going to have a field day with this.
So you are in violation of our city ordinance.
Oh, violation? Yes. He says I'm in violation of his city ordinance. Because I have a round in the magazine.
Just stand right there on the floor.
I'm calling David Ahmad.
He hasn't cleared it. Yeah, call the attorney. Anybody live streaming? Yes.
No, man,
So he's asking me if I have a round in the chamber, and my answer is that at this point, if I'm in handcuffs, the only thing I want is my
Yeah. About 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Once they determine that we're not breaking the law, of course, but you have to understand that we still have to do our little investigation to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and
that's why you're being detained at the time, you know, just to figure out what's going on. Once you figure out what's going on, you're on your way. You know what I mean?
They can hear you, David.
You guys are on the way. You know what I mean? We don't want to show where the whole department is like lying.
David Ahmed, Vice President of Open Carry Texas. Congratulations. You just bought yourself more open carry than you can possibly handle.
So what he's saying is that it's just me today. It'll be probably a couple of thousand people. So get out your tickets. Okay. That's all right. And if you can just relay that message to the chief, that's how.
I'd like for someone to explain to me just exactly what unauthorized carry of a long gun is.
He's asking what
city ordinance. You want me to read it verbatim to you?
He's going to read it, David.
I don't understand, quite frankly. I know that the magazine being loaded, that was an issue, but not to play games. But
okay, he's going to read it. He's going to read it to you, David.
Yeah, I'll listen to it now.
Okay, yeah, let him read it. Keep the phone up there, Todd.
It says, it shall be unlawful for any person other than a duly authorized peace officer to carry a loaded rifle or loaded shotgun on any public street within the city. A rifle or shotgun shall be considered loaded if it contains a shell or shells in either barrel or magazine.
Okay. You do understand that state law preempts that and makes that ordinance 100% inarguably invalid. You understand that, correct, Sergeant?
I'm Corporal Fleming.
He's a corporal.
I hear what you're saying, so...
You're Corporal Fleming? Okay.
Correct. There's two of us here.
Okay, if you hear what I'm saying and you understand that state law preempts that ordinance, then why are you writing this man a ticket for it?
Because he's in violation of our city ordinance.
You're invalid city ordinance. That legally does not exist.
I'm not going to argue with you.
Okay, we're done.
Well, I
right,
understand
you have a good night.
run along. Just understand this.
You have your driver's license and everything? Yeah, just the attorney card.
I'm going to be on.
The attorney card?
Hey, they're not listening to you anymore, bro.
That's not.
Here they come. Here's another one behind you. Oh man, here we go.
Put your heads down! If you reach that weapon, you will be shot. I will construe that as a threat. Get on the ground now! Get on the ground now! You get back! Stop back! Put the camera up! Get back! Get back! I'm not going to tell you. Get back, man! Get out of the way!
Don't
get out of the gun right
Don't touch me!
We are dealing with a man with a gun. Get out of the way! We are dealing with a person with a gun over here. Step back! Get back!
Joanna, get back and keep the camera on him. He said, go hands on.
Put your hand behind your back, sir.
I will comply, sir.
Why do you have a gun, sir?
Are you conducting an investigation?
Yes, sir, but put your hand behind your back now.
I'm going to reserve my right to remain silent. When you're done with your investigation, then I will speak with you.
Why do you have a gun?
Is it against the law, sir, to have a gun?
Sir, there was just recently a horrible shooting in Florida, and you're carrying around a gun. I don't know what your intentions are.
Well, is it against the law to have a gun, sir?
No, we don't know your intentions. We do not know your intentions.
You're also at a closed business after hours. I don't know if you're trying to burglarize this business. They got very expensive items.
Face them.
In and about this business.
Okay, no problem, sir. I understand.
Check the chamber.
I'm just making the area safe.
As are we.
Okay, good for you. Is that against the law to have a loaded handgun?
Not until we figure out your intentions.
My intentions are to keep the area safe.
And that's what we have.
And I think with the 10,000 phone calls you received, you know exactly why I'm out here. But you go ahead.
I do not know your intentions,
sir.
I just told you what my intentions are. I'm making them safe right here.
Back. There's a man with a weapon here. Please step back.
Can you tell her where to go so she knows where to
step
stand?
back, sir. Put your hand behind your
Sir,
back.
she has stepped back twice.
No, sir. That's still extremely close.
Actually, she's on video stepping back 3 times probably.
She's not armed, I'm not worried about
We have 3 other cameras out here.
Step up, sir. Let's go to my unit.
Can I leave now?
No, sir. You're not free to go, sir.
Am I under arrest?
No, but you're being detained for being on or about a business after it's closed. City ordinance violation.
Oh.
I'm live streaming, bro.
What do you want? What do you want?
Drop the sign.
Drop the sign?
Drop the sign.
Why?
I'm telling you, drop the sign. Drop the sign. Yes, you do. Drop the sign. Drop the sign. That's fine. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. That's spread out. Drop the sign.
Am I under arrest or something?
No, drop the sign.
If I'm not under arrest for being detained, you go away. Am I being detained?
Drop the sign.
Yes or no? Am I being detained? Drop the sign?
Drop the sign.
If I'm not under arrest, I don't have to do anything you say.
Drop the sign.
You have your gun out?
Yes, I do.
Is that a lawful
sign?
Is that a lawful order?
Drop the sign.
You guys are stupid.
That's fine. Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Here.
Hands spread out.
Got it.
And so as the founder of Open Carry Texas, I took a few people with me because I wanted to see for myself exactly what it was like. Because you can see things on YouTube, but you don't know the whole picture.
Yeah, it's out of context.
It's out of context, and so you got to see it for yourself. And so that's why we went down there, was to see, okay, is this real? Are the police really doing this? Or is it happening because of who these people are? Is there other stuff going on? And I saw for myself that not only was this stuff happening, but it was worse than what I had seen on video, the way that these officers acted.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, we set up the police department. The hope was that we would set them up for success, so that they would approach us, and especially after the phone call I had with the chief, that they would approach us and recognize that they'd been doing it wrong all this time. That was the expectation. What we got was the exact opposite. We got more, actually not even more of the same. They escalated it even further. And I'm afraid that if we don't do something now, there's only one way to go even further than that, and that's to shoot somebody. I want to put your gun away. I spoke to your chief yesterday.
Lay down on the ground. You lay down on the ground, motherfucker. Lay down on the
Hey, whoa, keep.
You're the only dangerous motherfucker out here. Lay down on the ground.
You're committing a felony right now, officer. You are committing a felony. That is an armed terrorist threat. This is Almost Park, guys. Almost Park, once again. Once again, Almost Park. Why you got an AR-15 out?
Articulate the law broken and I will...
I am.
Okay. Are you here to hurt anybody? Negative. Do you have a gun as well?
Of course I do.
Okay. Get away then.
Now, what crime is being committed here?
I will get down.
What crime is being committed here? So you got an AR-15 in hand because a man is lawfully carrying. This guy over here's got a pistol because he's lawfully carrying. How you doing? Oh, these cops are overreacting to a man lawfully carrying a firearm. We told you guys you were going to learn. Today's your education. Today's your education, Corporal. At some point, you're going to realize no crime is being committed.
In the state of Texas, only
This guy's got an AR-15 in his hand right now.
can the House and Senate pass any law that pertains to the penal code.
Here, I'm going
Which
to
means
open carry
under
mine just in case.
1-08, no subdivision of the law can pass any criminal law, which means any law that you may have enacted.
How y'all doing?
In your city.
We're just teaching your cops a lesson right now about lawful activity.
Does not make it illegal to carry
They're learning about the Second Amendment today.
or a loaded firearm.
What's that? Yes, ma'am.
What you're doing right now is holding gunpoint to a U.S. Army veteran.
You got a gun in your hand too?
To Iraq, who has never committed a crime in his life, who is doing nothing illegal, and you have 3 officers holding me at gunpoint because I have not committed a crime.
No, this is Olmos Park outside of San Antonio.
Are you starting to feel dumb yet?
Are you Renee? Are you the chief? Are you the chief? No, this guy back here. Are you the chief?
Yeah, there's a man with a gun right there.
You're the only one threatening people. You're the only one threatening people, officer. You're the only one.
You already asked if I was going to be violent. I am not. I am not going to shoot anyone. I am not a terrorist.
Are you the police chief?
I am an American citizen.
Are you the police chief?
Get on the ground or disarm myself for not committing a crime.
Are you the police chief? No, we're not getting on the ground. We're not getting on the ground.
I'll tell you one more time to get on the ground. I'm not going to tell you again. If you have a
For what? What crime?
If you have a license to carry a handgun,
He doesn't need a license to carry a rifle.
If you harm me when not committing a crime, you can go to jail for up to 10 years.
What crime are we committing?
You're interfering with the duties right now.
Well, you have no duty to disarm a law-abiding citizen.
Because you can't ask me for a license.
I'm not doing anything
Get
against
on the ground.
Hey, look, man, I'm not doing anything.
I am not doing. No!
Get back!
God damn it! Get back! Throw it off the damn.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground now.
Son of a bitch, I wasn't even a threat to anybody.
I told you to give me your
Chief,
hand.
you and I spoke. You and I spoke on the phone, Chief.
That's right. I can go to jail for up to 10 years.
Yeah. And somebody is going to die. Chief Valenciano, Chief Corporal Valenciano, I call him. Chief Corporal Valenciano is going to kill someone in cold blood because he is incompetent and his officers are untrained.
Yeah.
And I have a problem with that.
I do too.
And so I didn't go there to get arrested. As a matter of fact, if I'd known I was going to get arrested, I would have not taken my good firearm and my good holster because he's got my everyday carry, my Sig Sauer 1911. I love that thing to death.
You already have to get a gun back once.
It took me 4 years to get my last guns back last time I was arrested. I just got those back last summer.
Wow.
And so that's what we went out there for. We didn't go out there to cause problems. The hope and the desire was that the police would just do the right thing and we wouldn't have an issue. We could go and say, look guys, Olmos Park has learned, everything's good, everything's golden, you know, carry on.
Yeah.
And instead we got the exact opposite. We found out that tyranny is the rule of the day in Olmos Park.
Yeah, it's like, and unfortunately it's like that in a lot of smaller towns.
Yeah.
They run the show.
And to add on to that, I don't mean to cut you off, but I was the only one there, me and Jim, were the only two people there trying to de-escalate the situation. The police came out there, guns blazing, yelling, screaming, making things terrible. he and I were the only ones telling them, stop, calm down, put your guns away, no one's breaking the law here.
Yeah.
We were the only ones doing that. And that should also be something that people recognize when they're evaluating what happened in Olmos Park. They should see that, okay, who are the aggressors and who are the people trying to say, chill out.
So they pretty much targeted the people that were trying to de-escalate.
Yes, they didn't like the fact that we refused to obey their unlawful commands, and we didn't cower in fear over their threats. And
well, I was going to ask you, what advice do you have to other people in other smaller towns that are trying to do the similar things?
The very first thing that people need to know is they need to know their rights. They need to know them, not just say I have, read the Constitution. Don't just read that stuff. Know what you're talking about. Know the laws. Understand how the laws relate to you, because you've got to know what your limits are. If you don't know what your limits are, you can't push them.
Yeah.
And for example, I know for a fact that I don't have to follow unlawful orders. I just don't have to.
Yeah.
But if I'm not aware of what the law is, and I'm not aware of what the constitutional precedent is, how do I know whether or not that order is constitutional?
Yeah.
And how do I know how I'm allowed to respond to that? So if there's anything I tell people, it's educate yourself. If you're going to be an activist, you have got to know the law, and you've got to know your rights, and so you've got to know how far you can push it. That's why when I was out there, I kept my hands up the whole time, because I knew that had I tried to touch them in any way, that they could try to charge me with something else, which they did anyway.
Yeah, I saw that. Well,
so,
that's a common thing that the police do, is whenever they manhandle you, they charge you with assault of them.
Yeah, when they assault you, you're the one that gets charged with assault. Yeah. So I guess I got charged for forcing them to assault me. I don't know how that works, but that's, I think, so once you know that stuff, this is what I tell people, once you know your rights and you know the law, exercise it and stand up for it. And a lot of people say, I don't understand why it's not so hard just to do what you're told. Well, it's not. It's easy.
Yeah,
it's extremely easy just to do what you're told. But what progress do you make at that point?
Well, obviously it's easy because the police do it. They do what they're told.
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't question it.
And trust me, I don't like being tased. I don't like being thrown in a prison. I don't like having to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars of my own money or even someone else's money to get taken out of jail. I don't like that.
Yeah.
But I like freedom more. And if we believe in freedom, then we all need to stand up against these kinds of tyrannical actions. If we don't all stand up, if the majority of Americans continue like they're doing today, saying, why don't you just obey? We're never going to get our rights back.
Yeah.
But when we start telling police that, look, we have no duty, and when the American people start saying, cops, stop what you're doing. If you have no authority, don't exercise it. If you have the authority, articulate it.
Yeah.
If somebody's breaking the law, how hard is it just to say, I suspect you of committing this crime, or we're investigating this crime. We're investigating you for this crime. How hard is it to do that? Instead, it's just, do what I say, do it now. And I have a problem with that.
So what do you say to a lot of the people that, say you're being anti-cop and things like that? Because I get told that all the time, and I respond with, I'm not anti-cop, I just want them to follow the law, and I think that they should be not only equally prosecuted, but the law should be the same for citizen or cop when they're breaking the law.
Yeah. Well, again, that's a part of the brainwashing that government has done on people, is we have created this godlike status for government officials. I mean, I'm a veteran.
Yeah.
There is this idea that I'm somehow a better person because I'm a veteran than everyone else.
Yeah.
And there's this idea that cops are better people just because they're cops. And I'm not anti-cop. I'm anti-bad cop, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm also anti-cop who won't do anything about bad cops. If you're a cop that just sits around, for example, what happened in Olmos Park, even if you had nothing to do with physically touching and arresting me, the fact that those cops stood by and did nothing to stop it, those aren't good cops.
Yeah, and that's a point that I make all the time, is that I know that if the majority of the cops follow the Constitution and the law, there would be less brazen other cops to do what they want, but they know that the other ones are going to stand by there and even back up their story sometimes when it's not the truth.
And
That's
if
like,
I were
the...
if I were anti-cop, I would not have called that police chief.
Yeah.
If I were anti-cop, I wouldn't be helping to train different police department on open carry and how to interact with open carriers. If I were anti-cop, I would never work with police.
Yeah.
I've got video after video of me actually having positive interactions, but it's not anti-cop when you stand up for yourself.
No.
And so I am anti-bad cop actions, and I want justice. And this is what drives me nuts, is a lot of these people who accuse me of being anti-cop because I dare to stand up to bad cops. They have no. All I'm doing is I'm doing nothing different than if I criticize Nancy Pelosi, who's a bad politician. Yeah. I mean, just because I criticize Nancy Pelosi, does that mean I think all politicians are bad? Well, okay, that's probably a bad analogy. but I mean, you know, you get the idea. I mean, if I think if there's a bad city manager, do I think all city managers are bad?
Yeah.
If I think there's a bad Parks and Rec guy, do I think all Parks and Rec guys are bad? No.
Well, that's
but
like
the only population that it seems like people have this worship status for is cops and veterans. But veterans aren't out there jailing and arresting and assaulting Americans.
That's right.
And so that's what police are doing. And we need to get back. And we need to get back to these Peelian principles.
So I was going to ask you, what about you know how there's a fad now where well, it's not a fad. They're putting laws in effect where they determine someone's mentality now, that they're really pushing the. You know, whether or not people are sane and can have a gun. And there's been several examples of people that, because they were in the military and they took some kind of medication that was prescribed to them from their military doctor or whatever, that now that they're labeled as incompetent and can't have a firearm, like whether it was Zoloft or Xanax or whatever it was, but they're doing that also with, like, in the States where they've legalized marijuana. So they've given people a choice: do you want to smoke marijuana or have a firearm? In which case, if I were able to have a firearm, I would take the firearm. I mean, you can't defend your home with a piece of pot. You know, I'm just saying. This
is just another example of this blanket incrementalism that started with the whole felony thing.
Yeah.
And now it's moving into the quote-unquote mental illness realm. And And you know what? The problem is conservatives are falling into this as well. They're falling into this trap of, oh yeah, we can't have mentally ill people with guns. Well, what does mentally ill people mean?
Exactly.
Who gets to decide what mentally ill is? There's a study out there that says liberalism is a mental illness. Does that mean we need to disarm all liberals? I mean, as much as I don't like liberalism, I don't believe in disarming liberals.
No, I don't either. But and that's another point. Have you noticed that a majority of these weird mass shootings, they always want to blame a conservative white male, usually. That's usually where they go right away. And then it usually turns out that they're, like, you know, a Hillary follower, an Obama follower. And there seems to be an actual pattern that you could say that extreme leftists go nuts with firearms. And nobody's out in the street saying, hey, you know, like you said, because you're a leftist, you're more likely to do a shooting or something.
And I'm not out... I try not to play the politics game when it comes, you know, I'm not out there trying to find out, okay, was this guy an Obama supporter or a Trump supporter? Or
no, it's just something I noticed that happens.
Because that's another way to divide us. That's the way to keep us divided. And even mental health, if you look at these cases, only 4% of mass shooters have had mental health problems.
Yeah.
So we can't even blame mental health, but it's the low-hanging fruit that the liberals can grasp onto. Right now, the low-hanging fruit is mental illness and assault weapons, so-called assault weapons.
Yeah.
And we, being the stupid conservatives that we are, we can't have people with mental illnesses.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I mean, I've got PTSD. And are there some people who have committed crimes that have PTSD? Absolutely. But I've never committed a crime in my life, even though I've been arrested 3 times. So when we blanket that, that's just one more chipping away at the right there.
So what do you think as a civilian, if they want to get involved with things like, because Open Carry Texas is far, I mean, I know there's other groups, but you guys are by far the one that is most out there in the media that I've seen since I've been following your incident. It's funny because I started following you on Facebook when you had the first incident in Temple.
Well, I think we've found a formula that works, that is a good balance between being a legislative group that is fighting for laws, but also being an activist group, because there aren't really a lot of those. There are plenty of groups out there that are lobbying congressmen and legislators and all that, and whining and dining them and spending money and all that kind of stuff. But there's not anyone out there. I mean, where was the NRA while Olmos Park was assaulting open carriers? Where was the NRA when Teague was doing the same thing? Where was the NRA when people were getting arrested at the Capitol? Where's the NRA right now that we can't carry rifles, lawfully carry rifles onto Capitol property? Where's the NRA that we can't carry flagpoles now, flags on poles at the Capitol?
Well, unless you're Antifa or something.
Yeah. Well, even they can't now. No one's allowed to now. But the thing is, we don't have a gun rights group that is a good mixture of the two. We would prefer that all we do is lobby for good laws, getting rid of bad laws. We don't need more laws. We need less laws. But then when you have an issue where a city or a county or a state agency violates the law or violates rights, we need an organization that's willing to stand up and do it the right way. I mean, what we believe is the right way, of course. And it's got to be successful. And we learned really quickly that optics is important. And so our formula is that whenever we do something, there's got to be a reason that we do it. We don't just do it to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm not criticizing the guys up in Michigan. I'm not going to make a judgment one way or the other about the guys that walked into the police station with masks and the rifles and all that.
Well, in my opinion, that was stupid.
So we're here outside the Dearborn Police Station. We're going to go in and file a complaint because we were illegally pulled over about an hour ago. Isn't that right, Brandon?
That's 100% accurate.
We felt a little afraid for our lives when we were pulled over, so we figured we better protect ourselves.
Dude, put that on the ground. Put it on the ground. Put it on the ground.
I'm not trying to
put it on the ground now. Put it on the ground or you are dead.
Listen.
I will shoot you. I will put a round in you, sir. Put that rifle on the ground now.
Take it off your neck.
I will take it off.
Take it off your neck now.
Take it off your neck.
What the hell's the matter with you?
We all calm down?
Put it down. Barrel down. Set it down. Step back. You're carrying a sidearm as well.
It's all legal, sir.
Sir,
drop the fucking gun on your side now.
Drop the gun on your side now. On the
What's the
ground.
matter with you?
What's the matter with you? It's 100%
Put the gun
lawful.
on your hip.
Open carry is legal in Michigan. There's no different in this area here.
Get it off
This is a public common area.
Get it off
you
your
go ahead and stand down. I'm unarmed. You stop pointing your fucking gun at me. What the fuck is the matter with all of you? I came in here to file a complaint against you, asshole.
On the ground right now.
I am not going to touch my sidearm.
Then lay on the ground on your face. Now,
You're
on
walking
your legs.
in the police department loaded, okay?
So
How
what?
stupid is that?
It's legal.
Put your hand above your head. All the way above your head.
I don't have any cuffs. I got it.
Sir, step back. In the gray, step back. Step back.
I'm here to file a complaint.
Well,
I'm not.
Well, we're dealing with a police situation. You can file your complaint in a minute. You can file your complaint in a minute. Step back. Step back.
You're disobeying a lawful order.
You're disobeying a lawful order. If you do not obey this order, you will be placed under arrest.
You are going to be arrested.
Well, but what was the goal?
Yeah,
though?
what was the goal?
You have to have, if there's a reason for doing it and you can articulate that reason, then more power to you.
Yeah.
But you've got to have a reason for doing it. One of the reasons I don't carry my rifle into Target and Home Depot and all that stuff anymore is I no longer have a reason to do it.
Yeah.
I had a reason to do it in 2013 and 2014. I have no reason to do it anymore. So it doesn't make any sense optically. And as an activist organization, you want to win people over, and you can't win them over if they don't understand.
Yeah, because the scene that they made, with any normal person would you know, think that something bad was about to happen when masked men come in with guns pointed forward, not on their back.
Right.
So I'm not saying that what they did was illegal, of course, but it was stupid.
Yeah, it just didn't make any sense to me. And I wouldn't even go so far as to say it was stupid. It was probably ill-advised. But you know, but then again, I think it should have been obvious at that point to the law enforcement officers. It should have been obvious. Okay, yeah, here's some guys with masks, but they have cameras.
Yeah.
They're obviously trying to set us up for failure.
Yeah.
So if I were a law enforcement officer, I would recognize that instantly and go, oh, okay, I see what you guys are trying to do here. All right. So what do you want? You know?
Right.
Okay, you've got masks on. Woohoo, go you. What did you just prove? You know? And I wouldn't give them that footage. And I wouldn't arrest somebody who technically wasn't breaking the law just because they were being dumb or stupid based on some people's actions. But that was a failure all around. Law enforcement overreacted, but they also didn't understand the optics.
Yeah.
And we didn't understand the optics when Open Carry Texas first got started. We made a lot of mistakes because we didn't understand how to do it the right way, and we sort of had to learn the hard way. But I think now we've got that formula perfected.
Well, the whole thing, like what you were saying about, you know, knowing the law to back you up, so that whenever you get told an illegal order, you could say no. Like I have a friend from California that's staying with me because he's trying to escape Southern California, but he's I would call it institutionalized. Whenever he sees a cop, he's going to do whatever they tell him to do.
Yeah.
Because he's so used to getting shook down where they live that he knows that every stop is a felony stop, whether you're a felon or not, and that the wrong thing escalates it in the wrong way for them. And where we live, my brother not too long ago has a commercial building, and he tried to get maybe it was a mistake. There's different opinions about how he handled it. But anyway, he stopped a patrolman and waited till they were done with their stop, and then asked him for help. If somebody was going to break in the building, they told him to fuck off. So he said, "Excuse me," and he said some stuff, and they ended it by just calling a distress call, and they all came and beat him up, and then they lost the footage of him actually getting beat up, but we got some other footage of off, where you can't see nothing. And he had to sue them, and ever since then, he's, it seems like he's anti-cop now because they beat him up. But before that, he used to tell me, well, it's the way you dress, the people you talk to, and, so now he's got a totally different attitude on how an average citizen that's not doing anything can run into problems.
Yeah, just because of an ego.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people falsely equate you standing up for your rights and refusing to obey unlawful commands as being anti-cop or, you were just provoking and all that kind of stuff. And that's again, that mentality that we've been brainwashed into, is that we're supposed to just bend over backwards and do what we're told. And you can do that. You can stand up for yourself and not be a prick. You can say, no, I'm not going to ID without saying go F yourself.
Yeah. That's what I do. It winds me up in the back of a car, but they let me go eventually.
Right. But you can, and I try to do it. I don't use profanity most of the time anyway.
Well, it doesn't help.
It doesn't help at all. And quite frankly, when you're talking about optics again, if you want to bring people onto your side, even if you're completely 100% in the right, and all you're doing is shouting profanities at the cop, even though you're right, people are going to turn off. Yeah. They're not going to care about the fact that you're the one that's being assaulted and you're the one whose rights are being violated, because they're going to interpret that as being rude.
Yeah.
You're being rude and you're being confrontational and all that. So my thoughts are, just be as cordial as you can, but be as respectful as you can. It's just like when I was at Almost Parked. I respectfully but firmly said, no, I will not get on the ground.
Yeah.
Because they have no authority to put me on the ground. There's no crime that they're investigating.
And of course, they use that for you resisting.
That's what they call interference. And if that's what the police can define as interference, is it not also feasible that they could tell you to drop your pants and bend over, and if you don't, you're interfering? I mean, because where does one unlawful order stop and another one begin, that one's okay and one's not, you know?
And what's funny about that is I'm going to put the New Jersey story I was telling you about, because it seems that we're at that point now.
Yeah.
Where they're telling people to literally go in their private parts to find whatever they're looking for, which is usually has nothing to do with victims or crime or anything. Well, I mean, you could debate that if they're doing drugs themselves. I don't think that justifies the police raping pretty much someone.
Right. No, I don't think it does at all.
You can bring me down, you do what you gotta do. You are not sticking those gloves up. If you want to put your hand in my pants and fucking sexually assault me again, just, you can do that. You're not doing no weird shit with that. I don't fucking care what you're talking about. You start to do whatever you think you gotta do. It's gonna be on that little body cam now.
Yep, and it's gonna be on a microphone that's attached to my...
Alright, that's good.
I've seen you right now.
Alright, yeah, I know. I already know it's weird. I already said that too. I already know the car's negative. I know that too. So let's go. Go where? I don't know exactly if this is legal or not, but I don't think it is.
It's legal. I just talked to my detective sergeant.
I don't know.
You can tell me where it is right now, or I can go in and go get it.
What the fuck kind of gay shit is that, yo?
Stop
Wait, can we at least go in front of the cop car so we're on that camera too? Can we do that?
You want? You want me to search you in front of the camera?
Yeah, I really do. Yeah. What? Yo, you are really on some wild ass shit right now. Like, yo. Oh man, I can't wait. You better hope this is legal. Oh my. Did you find it? Did you find it? Yo, you guys are really ridiculous. So you might as well ask me on a fucking date. You might. Oh, it sure seems like. Yeah. Yo, this is justice! He's raping me! Yo, he's raping me! Yo, help! Yo, what the fuck? Yo, he's raping me! Yo, he's raping me! Damn, where's the camera? Yeah. Oh, don't show him my big kill. Yo. Don't break my pants on this. Come on, man. Yo, this is getting out of control. Yo, this motherfucker's a faggot. Yo, is this legal? Are you serious?
And we're going to go right from vaginal anal probe 1 to vaginal anal probe 2. Look at this.
In November, a foreigner-side investigation we broke outraged the nation. The story of David Eckert went viral. From coast to coast, people wanted justice for the New Mexico man who was anally probed and forced to undergo a colonoscopy after police suspected he had drugs in his rectum. Tonight, David Eckert tells us he is finding some justice after a major court decision in his case. It was difficult for anyone to imagine what David Eckert went through. Medical records and a federal lawsuit show that Deming police officers and Hidalgo County deputies suspected he had drugs after a routine traffic stop. They violated a warrant by taking him to a hospital in a different county. At the An Hillah Regional Medical Center in Silver City, doctors performed multiple procedures, including abdominal x-rays, anal exams, forced enemas, forced stool samples, ending with a surgical colonoscopy. Eckert sued the city of Deming, Hidalgo County, the doctors, the An Hillah Regional Medical Center, and the deputy district attorney who signed off on the warrants. In December, Hidalgo County and the city of Deming settled the lawsuit, and through a records request, Foreigner Side learned that settlement amount is set at $1.6 million.
The gratifying aspect of this case is the immediate attention that it has gotten and the opportunity for discussions from law enforcement and the medical community about how to deal with these situations and how to deal with requests from law enforcement for medical exams of people in custody.
Here's the settlement breakdown. Hidalgo County will pay $650,000. The city of Deming will pay $950,000.
We have a constitution that limits the power of our government, that limits the power of investigating our citizens.
And they even have a famous case in New Mexico where the police said that the guy puckered and they took him to 2 different hospitals, which, by the way, cooperated even though it was against their rules, but because the police told them to do it, they did it.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know that guy has, it doesn't take away that, what they did to him, but they did pay him out afterwards. But then it comes back to that too, is that the police don't really pay them. The citizens are paying all of those lawsuits. The citizens end up passing it on because the municipalities have to get insurance, and they're using your tax money to pay that.
And those premiums go up. And I don't think a lot of people realize that it's insurance that usually pays those things out. So the taxpayer isn't paying millions, but they are paying more for their premiums every time they have to do a payout.
Yeah.
And so it does cost taxpayers money, which is why it drives me nuts that in Olmos Park I've heard citizens say that, well, they treat us fine all the time, and these people aren't even from our city. I'll tell you what, if someone from Olmos Park came to Temple and was treated the way that I was treated down there by one of my officers up here or my chief of police, I don't care that they don't live here. I would be calling for my chief's head. I would want him fired because he treated someone from Olmos Park the way that I was treated when I was down there. Just because you live there and I don't, doesn't make the behavior any different.
Well, I was going to ask you if you had some main points because my battery's going down.
Okay.
So.
No, I think that's everything. Just know what you're doing, know your rights, and just stand up for them. Find a way to do it respectfully,
all right,
but
cool, man.
resolutely.
I appreciate you giving me a couple minutes of your day over here while I was driving through, and I'll post this and give you the link and put all the links to your stuff on there.
Hey, stay strong, exercise your rights, don't give in to authority, and be strong.
Right.
Carry on.
All right, man.
All right, brother.
Ooh, I hear some semi-automatic good old freedom going on out here in Texas. Come here. Oh yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Maybe I'll just plug in my mic here. Somebody's having a good time with the Second Amendment out here in the middle of Nowhereville in Texas. I don't even know where I'm at. Just out here. And yeah, that's cool right there. What's up, guys? Go.
Mary, you guys don't like the gunshots? Are you guys Democrats? You're not Democrats, are you? Oh yeah, that sounds like a nice 223 weapon over there. Lots of freedom out in the middle of Texas. I know liberals don't like that, but hey, some places still have freedom.
Guess I'll just close my eyes.